Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Rachel Klein and I will be your presenter here today. Today we are talking about membership and directories. So how to generate a directory, how to customize a directory, and also how to get some pictures in there if that's something you're looking to do. You can get some really nice pictorial directories out of the membership module. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. Couple things I want to point out to you first in people here. There are two really important fields that you need to have filled in for someone to show up correctly or properly on your directory. Okay, so I'm in membership. I just went into people and I'm on my first record here. This is for Nina. And as you can see, if we look on the right, all of these individual fields are specific to Nina's information here in Church Windows. Main thing here with a directory, this include on directory field is really important. Anyone that you wish to see on your directory, you have to have this box checked. That is what tells the system, yes, they need to be in the directory. If you ever run a directory and someone isn't there and you feel like they should be, this is going to be the first place we are going to take you on a support call to have you verify that this box is checked, that you do in fact want them to show up on the directory. There's also this special character field. If you want Nina to show up on the directory and you also want a special character to print after her name, so you could do an asterisk or a caret or something to that effect, and you can have that show on certain people's names to say specific things about them. Maybe you want to mark who's on a committee this year or who's involved with the staff or who works in your children's center or something to that. You can put a special character in there and that will only show up when you run a directory next to their name. Okay? The next really important field is down here, directory/report order. Whether someone is set to show on the directory or not, you want to make sure you have this field filled in for primary, secondary, child, secondary, primary separately, or individual separately. All right, every single person in your database should have something filled in their directory report order field. This field tells the software who's who within your family, okay? Every household needs to have a primary, so whether it's like Nina, who is the only person in her family, because she's the only one, by default, she is the primary. Now, if we jump here to the Bernard family, you can see that Edward is checked, Evan, I'm sorry, is checked, include on directory. You can also see that he is the primary. Now, if we go to Evan's wife, Nikki is also set to show up on the directory. She is the secondary. Okay, they have 2 kids. If we click here, you can see each kid has a 3 because they are a child within the family. So if you have 5 kids, all 5 of those kids are going to have a directory report order of 3. Now let's look at Stuart. He's a little bit older. He's 24. We could adjust this include on directory field for him to individual separately. This will keep Stuart within his family, within this household, but when you run the directory, this tells the software that you want Stuart to print in as his own entity or in his own section when the directory is produced. Okay? The last field that I haven't talked about yet, something to consider, if you have a family and the husband and wife have different last names. So for example, we have Brian and Ann here. Let's say Ann's last name is actually Smith. If that was the case, Ann, instead of being secondary, should actually be 4, which is secondary and primary separately. What 4 tells the software to do is to print the names Brian Ellie and Ann Smith up in the E's in the directory, and then print the name Ann Smith and Brian Ellie down in the S's. So if you ever have a couple who has two different last names, make one of them the primary and make the other one a 4 so they show up in both places in the directory. That way if someone only knows one person's last name and not their partner's last name, they can find them that way because they'll show up in both places. Okay? Okay, quick rundown on directory setup. One last thing I want to show you too is over here on the left. You have several different tabs that are specific to just the family. You can see those here. The photo tab is where you will upload or add any photos that you have for a pictorial directory. Church Windows is not a photo editing software. Okay, you are not able to edit, crop, or do anything with a photo once you get it in the database. So any adjustments that you need to do to the picture itself, make sure you do that before you upload it into Church Windows. Okay, stay consistent with your sizing and your dimensions of your photo. You want to stay as consistent as possible. That way when you go to print your pictorial directory, your photos are going to look similarly, okay? To add a photo, you simply hit the Add Picture button. It's going to open up your browser screen, browse to the location of the flash drive where all your photos are, select the one that you want, and open it, okay? You can clear the picture, or you do have the option to rotate the picture if it comes up in an incorrect format, okay? But other than rotating, you're not going to have any other customizing options, all right? Once you get the photo uploaded, just make sure you hit the Save button. Any family photos, make sure you add over here on the left side on the family record. Any individual photos you can upload over here. So if you want to print a directory for committee members of any sort or deacons or groups and classes, whatever it might be, and you need individual photos, that is done over here on the right. Okay? All right. That is our setup. Let's go ahead and get into reports here. When running a directory, we already know that it defaults to only print those people that have the check mark in the Include on Directory field. If you have any more criteria that you want to use, you would do that here. Membership criteria would be entered here on this Edit People Selection criteria. Say you want to omit visitors that have that Include on Directory checked, you would do that in here. If you want to focus in on a committee, like I said, you would do that here. If you only want people of a particular status code, you could do that here as well. Possibilities are really endless in here, and I don't want to spend too much time on criteria because I really want to focus on layout. But if you have questions about who should show up, or you need to have more specific criteria than just include on directory, you would put that information here. Sort tab. This is really, really important. I get a couple of calls on this a month. You run a directory and it's in some really off order. It's not printing in alphabetical order. Something looks strange about it. Check your sort field. So go to the sort tab where it says sort field 1. Make sure you have name, last, first, alphabetical in here. That's going to give you strictly alphabetical order A to Z. Okay? And then we're going to hit next. So step 2, this is where we're really going to get in and work on the design. What we want our statement, or not our statement, I'm sorry, our directory to look like. Okay, I've seen some really beautifully done directories out of Church Windows. So up here at the top left, make sure you have the option of directory selected. Then below that, if we hit the down arrow, you can see all of these different templates. Templates are going to be in here by default. Everyone is going to have access to these. These are all customizable. You can use any of these as a starting point and then build from that or customize from that to really achieve the look or the layout that you want. Most commonly used directory as of right now is going to be the directory that includes your cell phone and your email. If you are going to include cell phone and email, I would recommend sticking with the 2-column directory, this 2COL directory, instead of the 3-column directory. The problem is some people have some really long email addresses. And if you go with the 3-column, It will give you that extra column, but it does seem to take up more paper because the cell phone numbers are going, or the email addresses are going to wrap onto another line. So you're going to get some extra lines in there for your emails, which ultimately is going to make your report a little bit longer and a little clunkier, in my opinion. Try it, see what you think. But I prefer the 2-column directory with cell phone and email. This one is really going to give you good room and give you that space to have, Rachel's email and then list what my email address is. Okay. As soon as you pick that template, it's going to tell you have some customizing that you have to do. So we're going to say okay through this, and I'm going to hit the edit button. Once the report designer opens, you can really come in here and do some customizing to your directory here. Right now, there's no picture on this one, but I do want to show you the different fields that are going to be used. You're going to have their last name and preferred name of your primary and your secondary, or your number 4 person. Any kids will be here, any address information here, and then your primary phone. If they have an alternate address, that will print in this section. If nobody has an alternate address, this whole section will be omitted and these 4 fields will shift up. Okay. Now, looking down here, email address is set up already. However, cell phone is not. Okay. Reason being, Church Windows was around well before cell phones came out, and people started creating their own cell phone fields. So with that, Church Windows needs you to tell it what cell phone field you want to print in here. Okay. So we're going to go to the right under our data controls, and we're going to grab a membership field, click and hold, and I'm going to drag it over and I'm going to drop it right in here. As soon as I drop that field, it wants me to tell the software what field or what information needs to print in that membership field. I'm going to find my cell phone field and I'm going to say OK. So right now I have this field displaying my cell phone number, and I have this field with a little person, it's called a personalized label, is going to display the person's name and then the word cell. So for example, this field will print Rachel's cell. This field will print what my cell phone number actually is. Okay. Now we have a second line because we need to set this up for their spouse or partner. So again, grab a membership field, drag that over and drop it. Select cell phone, say OK. All right, now this field by default is set to the selected individual. So we have to change this because I want this field to print the information for my spouse. So I'm going to hit the little gear button. Under family member, I'm going to hit the down arrow and I'm going to choose spouse partner of individual. Okay, so it knows to print my husband's phone number here instead of mine. All right, over to the left. Oh, my watch just talked to me, sorry. Over to the left under cell phone, select that field, hit the gear. Family member set to spouse partner, so it'll know to print Mitch's cell here. But I'm going to tell it to omit. So if your spouse or partner doesn't have the cell phone field, I don't want to see it print Mitch's cell and then have a blank space. I want to just omit that whole line. So omit if selected field is empty, and I'm going to choose cell phone for spouse partner. Okay. Same thing up here. I'm going to choose this field. It's already set to selected individual, so it knows to print my phone number. But over here to the left, I'm going to hit my gear again, and I'm going to tell it that if Rachel doesn't have a cell phone, I want to omit the cell phone field for Rachel. Okay. Pretty straightforward. So that is going to give you all of that information for the contact, cell, and email. Okay. You can also add a logo in here if you want to. I've really seen some beautiful directories. So if I make this section a little bit bigger, my mouse is being kind of crazy. Let's get rid of that. Hover, and I can make this bigger section here. And over to the right, you have this logo or image field. I can drag this over and I can drop this in here. and I can decide with my gear what image source I want to put in. So this is going to be where I would hit the browse and I would locate my logo. Okay, so if you're familiar with Publisher or working with text boxes a lot, the Report Designer is really like that. Okay, so this would be how you would upload a logo if you wanted to. All right. Also, there is an undo button up here. I find myself using the undo button a lot when I'm helping other people with directories because it gets you kind of back to where you were, clean slate. All right, let's say you want to add a photo. If you want to add a picture, I'm going to hover over this section and make this line a little bit bigger. I'm going to grab a membership field. I'm going to click and hold, drag and drop that. And then I actually have to find my family photo. So up here at the top, I'm going to expand family and I'm going to choose picture and say OK. And this is going to be the field that is going to print my family picture. You can also make it bigger or smaller. It's up to you. You could also scooch all of these fields down and put the picture up on the top if you wanted to. But dragging that membership field over and choosing the family photo is how you're going to get your picture added to a directory that doesn't already have the picture field in it. Okay? Let me scooch this back up. All right, let's talk about font and font size. This can get a little tricky when you want to adjust the font. Every field on this report designer is considered its own unique field. So again, if you think of it like text boxes, each one of these is its own text box. So each one of these can have a different font or font size. It can be bolded, underlined, all of that, okay? So if you decide I'm not really liking this Times New Roman font, if I select this field and I come up to the top and I change it to this, it is in fact going to change that font, but it's only going to change it for that one field. Okay, so as a workaround, what I like to do, I hold the control button on my keyboard. I'm holding it down now and I'm going to keep holding it down, and I'm going to hover and click on each of these fields. This is going to allow me to select multiple fields and then allow me to change the font for all of these fields that I've selected. So now that I've held control down the whole time, clicked on every field, I can come up here and swap my font to something else. Okay. Same works for font size. If you want to increase the font a little bit, up here at the top, down arrow, choose your font size there. Okay. You want to bold, italics, underline. That's all done while the fields are selected. Okay. Up here at the top, these are going to be a little bit bigger, so they pop. Again, these are at a 14. You can change those if you wish as well. Okay. Let's do a save as. I got to remove the word template in here, but I will call this Rachel at the end. Again, you can call it whatever you want. I'll say okay. Once it saves, top right, hit the X, and now back here I can see here is my directory that we just saved. Lots of different report options in here. I would recommend looking through these and seeing if you want to include any of these options. They're pretty self-explanatory, but I'm going to go ahead and hit print so we can take a look at this. And again, I played around with the font, so that does look a little strange. But as you can see, the fields I selected, the font is different on. It's printing cell and email here. Now, if it's the only person in the family like Penelope, you can see it's only printing the word cell phone. It's not reiterating her name because it already knows that it's the only one, so it has to be her. Over here on the left, you can see Jen and Richard make up the Arnold family, so it is reiterating the names. Down here at the bottom, we can see Bill's cell, Donna's cell. Bill has an email, but Donna does not, so it didn't print the text Donna's email. And then if you look in the lower left, you can see it's page 1 of 4 as well. Okay, let's go look at a pictorial directory real quick. Back on the left under directory, let's choose this simple picture directory. A lot of people like this one. It's really just for a reference of what somebody looks like. There's not going to be a whole bunch of contact information. But I'm just going to use the template for now. And as you can see, here's their name. So Jen is the primary. Richard would be her son, but as you can see, Jen is the only one pictured. Here is her address. Here's Bill and Donna. This is just their address and their home phone. So it's, again, a little bit of a different layout here. I saw someone asking, can you omit the photo can you omit the photo if blank? Yeah, so if that's the case, if you only want a pictorial directory with people who have pictures, so for example, we'd want to leave out Stuart, you can definitely do that. You'll have to go do that back on the step 1 screen, and I'll show you that here in a minute. But pictorial directory, same thing, hit the edit button here and you can go in and you can really customize what information you want to see. So they made this picture pretty large in here. You can look at some of the other picture templates and see if you like one a little bit better. Okay. Be careful doing 2-column directories with photos. Sometimes the spacing can get a little wonky with those because the picture takes up so much room on the paper to print over onto the 2-column. But the main thing or the best thing to remember with working in the report designer and building different directories is you can come up here and do a save as, and you can have as many iterations as the same layout as you want. You can really play with it and get the look that you like. Another important feature down here at the lower left, there is this preview button. If you click the preview button, it's going to give you some sample data. So you can kind of get a loose idea of what your directory is going to look like without having to save it, close, and then print it and come back in. So this is a quick way down here, lower left preview, just to get an idea of what it's going to look like. And then back here to the left, hit your designer button to get you back here. Okay. All right, let me show you real quick. I know we're going a little bit over. Let me show you real quick how to tell it to omit people who do not have a photo. So if I go back and we get back to the step 1 screen, the query builder screen, I'm going to hit edit people selection criteria. And I'm going to come down here to, is it picture or photo? There it is, picture. And I'm going to say select families or individuals who have a family photo. Okay. So select families or individuals who have a family photo, plus selection, hit OK, hit next, here's my criteria. And then when I run my picture directory, let's try a different one. Let's do the horizontal one. It should only print the families that have uploaded a family photo. I like this one. I like the little people across the top. But if you don't like the people, you can delete those. But here is the horizontal directory. That is everything I wanted to show you guys today about directories.